Welcome to another episode of the OC podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we're going to tackle season 1, episode 11 of the OC. It's been a lot of fun tackling each and every week. As always, I am joined by Kenzie. How are you today?
I'm good. I love this episode. I can't wait to talk about it.
I am very, very excited as well. We kind of figured out what episode it was last week. We knew what we were going into because obviously Matthew Fox put out his articles of favorite OC episodes, and obviously this was near the top of his list. And so it was exciting to understand where we were going with this. Super excited to talk about this episode because a lot happens. Like, oh my God, there's a lot happened in this episode.
So much. I just love like holiday episodes of shows.
Oh, they're great. And even more so like with this crew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as we slowly start to unpack the episode of understanding, it's like, oh, what's just going to be a tight, intimate Thanksgiving dinner between, just the Coens, you know what I mean? And then it turns into a lot more. But I do say the opening of this episode was out and out hilarious.
So good. So funny.
We obviously open up in the kitchen and we all and not being able to cook, but it I want to say obviously she's trying to cook Thanksgiving because it's Ryan's first Thanksgiving with the family. She wants to make it special.
That, and it's so funny to me. She's like, it's Ryan's first Thanksgiving, and I'm like, where is Ryan? And then I notice Ryan's in the kitchen, just like they're talking about him, like he's not there. And I'm like, he's right there. Because then he's like, I don't really care. Like, we don't celebrate holidays where I'm from. Like,
exactly. Really exactly. And then, of course, I love when Seth goes, "Do not ruin Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday."
I have a lot of questions about that because it's not his favorite holiday.
I have a lot of questions too.
I wonder, as someone who, like, I converted to Judaism for my marriage, and so he celebrates both, we get into this later, but Christmas and Hanukkah, and maybe he likes Thanksgiving because he doesn't have to choose with his families, because if they would both celebrate it because it's not a religious holiday,
right?
It's just like a holiday. But I love when Sandy brings up his true feelings about Thanksgiving.
So good.
Later in the episode, it's hilarious.
So good.
But my favorite line of this entire kitchen interaction before the phone rings is Kirsten's like, where are the recipes? And Seth goes, no, Mom, no recipes, put them away. And she just like gives him a look. And then they all like kind of look at each other. Like Sandy looks at Seth, Seth looks at Sandy, Sandy looks at Ryan. They all kind of like put a triangle together around her.
Yeah.
And it's so funny.
So good.
I don't want to know what that feels like.
Can we also talk about the fact that she didn't know what the recipes were?
But maybe, so I was thinking about that, but then I was like, maybe they're like special Thanksgiving recipes.
Right. So maybe they're
you put them away. So like they're not in the way year round.
Absolutely.
But like, how many recipes do you really need to pull out for Thanksgiving? Like, my mom has been making the same things for years, and it's kind of like clockwork. Like,
right. Stuffing.
Like, I don't even know. Like, my mom makes this pumpkin roll thing, and I'm like, I don't even need to pull out a recipe for it. Like, I know what it needs from the one time I've helped make it every single Thanksgiving. Like,
exactly. Yeah, you know what you're doing, right? You know what I mean? Like a lot of like, if you think about it, there's a lot of different things on Thanksgiving to eat, but a lot of it's very simplistic, right? For the most part.
Green beans, mashed potatoes, like
stuffing, dressing, whatever people call it.
But it was really funny to see them. They have like everything's kind of already set up. Like, she's like, I should baste the turkey, but it was already like in the roasting pan, and it had like all this like carrots and all this stuff around it. And I was like, wouldn't you have already questioned the whole basting the turkey before it's in the roasting pan?
And don't you cook the turkey for a little while before you put the veggies in there? Because you have to cook the turkey a long time.
And my whole issue with this is, I don't know what time you typically eat on Thanksgiving, but no one is starting their turkey after they have their smoky eye makeup, their hair curled, their nice suit on.
Mm-mm.
You wake up like at the crack of dawn, start your turkey before you even shower for the day.
They
You
were
get it
having
in the
dinner at
oven.
8 o'clock at night.
But
I've
like,
never eaten
why
at eight
is
o'clock
she
at night
already
on.
ready? And why is she wearing so much makeup and a suit and a really nice statement necklace
Yeah.
if they were not expecting guests?
Because throughout the night, I mean, throughout the episode, we realize that it's very early in the morning because a lot goes down before dinner's served.
That and like Ryan comes in and is eating cereal throughout this entire conversation.
Exactly.
He's eating cereal.
Right. So we know
But she
dinner
has
is.
a smoky eye on. Listen, there's a rule nationwide. You don't have dark black smoky eye before 9 a.m. You can have a subtle smoky eye, I guess, but not a dark black one. But my favorite thing of this whole episode is as guests arrive, confirmed or not confirmed, Sandy and Kirsten are like in all black, and then everybody else is kind of colorful. And I'm like, that's so weird. Like, because in the previous episode, Kirsten was like the only one in like a black dress, this like party.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like, oh, Kirsten doesn't want to be here, you know? And like,
Exactly.
and I'm like, does Kirsten also not want to be at her own Thanksgiving? Like, it was really funny.
Once things start to unfold, they obviously the answer to that
I
question.
don't want to be at their Thanksgiving.
I don't either.
Actually, no, out of this entire episode, no, at the end of the episode, after once we're done to discussing, I'll tell you which character I would have liked to be. You know how people say, like, yeah, like, you know,
yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, what
Okay.
character in the episode would you have wanted to be throughout this episode?
yeah, I'm
More
gonna
so,
tell you at the
obviously,
very end.
towards like the I like that. I like that a lot.
You think of your answer while we're discussing.
No pressure, right?
No pressure. No pressure.
Just throw things on top of me while we're in the middle of the air. I do love whenever she she oddly picked this turkey up. Like really strangely picked this turkey up.
And Sandy's line.
He goes, "Hey Seth, that's how she held you as a baby."
It's so funny.
Oh man. So folks, Dunkin' Donuts is sponsoring the show. That's what Kenzie is drinking right now. Please, please sponsor the show. We've been asking. And if you're listening to this, tweet at Dunkin' Donuts and tell them that we give them the rub every single week. So it's funny. Obviously, they converse, and then Sandy and Seth kind of take over and start cooking, right? You know what I mean? It's
take everything away. She's like, I'll peel potatoes, and Seth's like, I got that. And then she's like, I'll just handle the cranberries. But I love that she doesn't know what to do with the cranberries, so she's like, I'll handle them.
I'll handle the cranberries.
And then Ryan's like, no, I got that. That's like my favorite thing. She's like, I thought you didn't like Thanksgiving. And he's like, but I love the cranberries. And then Sandy's like, all based. And I still don't understand that. And then the phone rings, and she's like, I'll get that. And then they're like, yeah, answer the phone. Answer the phone. You answer the phone. You got the phone.
Exactly.
It's so funny.
So good. It's just for being this kind of opening the way it is, you know what I mean? It was just super funny. It was off the wall. It was crazy, and you couldn't help but just be super duper enamored with the opening of this episode, right?
It was so like comforting until the phone rang.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, the phone rings and we realize that it is a collect call from GL, and it is in fact Ryan's brother. And it's so funny to me because every single time something good is going on in Ryan's life, something has to happen, right? You know what I mean? The deep, dark depths of his past have to come back and really kind of ruin things, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying?
Every time something's going good, something has got to pop up.
Yeah, it's depressing, I would say. You know what I mean? I like Ryan. So I will say this right off the bat. You know what I mean? I was very, very happy with the reaction from Sandy and Kirsten here, right? He was like, I've got to go visit my brother. It's Thanksgiving. Even though Ryan knows in the back of his head, he needs something, right? You know what I mean? He needs something. He knows that he's going to have to do something or give him something, or he needs money or something like that. But I love how they were just these supportive parents understanding why he needed to go. You know what I mean? I love that a whole lot.
Yeah, it was really nice. Like Kirsten was so cute. She was like, I just consider him so much part of our family. Like I kind of like
Yeah.
forgot that he has this other like family, and it was really sweet
It was a
because
great moment.
yeah, because they're really like they are his family. But this episode cements what timeline we're in. Jimmy later in the episode mentions that he hasn't had a job for 6 months.
Yep.
So it's been like 6 months since Ryan was taken in by the Cohens. And it's like that is enough time for like you to like start taking in the motions of things and kind
Yeah.
of forget about
He's there. He's part of the family. It's everyday
yeah,
activities. It's when you cook
yeah,
dinner, you're cooking dinner for everybody. Or no, I
yeah.
mean, not Kirsten per se,
It's
but like the
4 now,
family.
not
Right. Yeah.
3. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like a
Um,
theme throughout the whole episode of like people not really realizing the changes that Ryan's gone through.
exactly. And then real quick, we go to the transition here. Obviously Seth wants to go, and that was cute. You know what I mean? He wants to be supportive.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
he was
Ryan's
like, we're all brothers now. And I was like, that's so cute because
right.
Trey does not know who you are.
Exactly.
Like,
And then
no idea.
it's funny. Ryan's smooth comeback. Someone's going to have to keep your mom away from the food, which I thought was
It's
hilarious.
hilarious. It's so funny.
And then of course it's what I loved here. Obviously, like in a few minutes, it kind of changes. But I do love the fact that we don't really know the timeline from when the party happened to now, but Seth has not told Ryan yet. And that's
Yes.
impressive.
Yeah.
Right? You know
it's
what I mean?
very like, I'm assuming it was at least because it's Thanksgiving, so it's a Thursday, and that party was on a Saturday. So it's at least like Saturday to Thursday.
Even if it's 5 days.
Yeah, but for Seth, like what's going on?
That's like 6
what?
years for Seth.
Yeah, like I'm surprised he didn't like pull Ryan away from Marissa at the party to be like, Summer kissed me.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and that's all he talks about every single episode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like that was like a theme of the last episode that he never stops talking about Summer.
Right. And now she lays the big one on him and says that not only does she not just kiss him, she tells him that she likes him. You know what I mean? And just does not tell. So I mean, obviously it doesn't, really last very long, but it's been a couple days at least, which is impressive enough for Mr. Cohen. I do think it's hilarious. Then Kirsten reaches for the corn, right? And then Sandy
so
goes,
funny.
Seth likes corn.
It's so funny because she's like, let me do some cooking. He's like, oh no, Seth really likes corn. Like specifically, Seth really likes corn. And at first I was like, that's just a thing he's saying to keep her away from it. But then Seth comes out and he's like, Mom, you're uncomfortably close to the corn. And I'm like, maybe he does really like corn.
I love it. And then he like reveals at this particular moment that they've made a pact.
Yeah. He's like, we all made a pact to keep you away from the food. And she's like, who? Like,
and then it's like,
so
what do you mean
hurt.
who? Like, she's so hurt by it, but what do you mean who? Like,
yeah,
the
it's
three
so
of them.
funny.
Like, who else would it have been? And I do love, she says right before he says, whenever he says they're, uncomfortably close to the corn, step away. I love whenever she goes, how do you expect me to get better? And he's like, we don't.
It's so funny. And it's also so true. Like they've kind of accepted that.
Exactly. We transition to a very good Jimmy moment.
It's like really funny and it's like really earnest. The whole interaction between him and Marissa.
It was a great dad moment.
It was a great dad moment, but it also shows like, yes, he's not a very nice guy, I guess, per se.
Yeah.
But he is.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things about having bad attributes or bad qualities is being self-aware of them.
Yeah.
And I think like that's something, if you're self-aware, like your shortcomings as a person, like it kind of makes up for them. And Jimmy is very self-aware in this moment. And he's also like such a good dad in this moment, not just about himself, but he kind of like not hypes up Julie, but he kind of doesn't let Marissa be like a super negative Nancy about Julie. Like he's like, she's still your mom. Like
exactly
underneath all that's going on, like she's your mom. Like, and I really like that because Marissa's talking about how she's going to Julie's for Thanksgiving with Caleb, her mom's new boyfriend.
Yep.
And they have this really funny interaction where Marissa's like, he's so creepy. And Jimmy's like, he's not creepy. And then Marissa just like stares at him. He's like, he's he's it's like so funny because it's so natural. Like when someone is creepy, but like he's a parent trying not to be
He's
called, like be name
exactly.
calling in front of his daughter. Like it's just really funny.
He's trying to
And
have a moment and be the
he's like,
bigger person.
but he's
And
like, he is kind of creepy. Like, but then I couldn't stop thinking, like, I wonder if they made like a fake MySpace profile at the time for Jimmy, and it was like creepy Caleb,
oh
you
my
know?
god, that's funny. I like that. And then of course we go from here. Can we talk about how sweet it is? Everybody gives. Everybody wants to give Ryan something to give. Ryan's brother. How sweet is it?
It's very sweet, but like, have these people ever been to a prison? You can't bring in like gifts.
You can't bring food in either.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's really cute, but I was like, bro, like, no.
Yeah, obviously it's the idea that that matters, but at the same time, like what? Like
It's really funny, but I just love that Kirsten hands Ryan a pie, and she's like, "Don't worry, it's store bought."
that was hilarious.
But also, like, question, was that their only pie?
Right.
Because like she didn't know that one, they were going to have a bunch of guests, which we haven't gotten into yet.
No.
Two, that Trey was going to call and Ryan was going to
Right.
have to go see Trey. And
Right.
I don't know, like we always have multiple pies at my Thanksgiving because
Same.
like not everybody likes the same pie.
Exactly.
And like, I don't know, I didn't see a
So
pie
many
later.
questions. So many questions. Because there's only technically at this particular moment, there's only going to be 4 of them at dinner.
6, because Jimmy and guests.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot Jimmy and Rachel are coming too. So 6.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, we're thinking maybe possibly, you know what I mean? You got a pumpkin pie. I think what looked like it handed to him, right? It was a pumpkin pie.
I think it was a fruit pie.
Was it a fruit pie? Okay. So
yeah.
Fruit pie. Maybe it's just the pie she didn't like. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
like my dad,
right,
my dad likes boysenberry pie, and none of us like it. So if like someone came to our house and like needed a gift, we would be like, "Here's this boysenberry pie."
I don't even know what boysenberry is.
It's like all the berries, like in a pie.
Oh, okay. All in one, huh?
Yeah, it's not for me. I just like pumpkin pie and apple pie.
I love pumpkin pie.
But my mom makes pumpkin pie because I really like pumpkin pie. But my mom makes like pumpkin roll, and I like that better. But to me, you can't not have a pie on Thanksgiving.
No.
So like, we still make pies.
Yeah.
But why would you give away? Like, no, if they're only having 6 people, they definitely only had 2 pies, a pumpkin pie and a fruit pie. And they gave away the fruit pie. Yeah. Which means, and I get the feeling that Seth really likes pie.
Exactly. 100%.
That means a lot of people didn't get pie.
Exactly. And then of course we transition to the moment where I'm talking about literally I was very, very proud of Seth for, a whopping, 5 minutes into the episode, which it's still very impressive. Still,
because he's had the opportunity to disclose the moment, and he did not. But now he.
We also get the realization of how old Seth is as well. He says the first 16 years of my life I've had no women. Now I've got 2, which is hilarious. Yeah,
because he's like what, like 30 in real life at this point.
Probably.
Like
so weird.
It's also like really jarring as an adult to rewatch this because I'm like, he definitely doesn't look like a teenager.
No, God, not even.
When I was like a kid, it like went over my head.
25. Ryan looks like he's 25 going on 30. I forget exactly what Ryan says to him or whatever. But he goes, I liked it so much, or Seth goes to Ryan, I liked it so much better when you had no sense of humor.
It's so funny. Because he's like putting on cologne. He's like, since when do you wear cologne?
Yeah, oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
It was really funny. It was like so pure. It was so like true what would happen.
Jimmy and Marissa show up. And then I love the fact that Sandy and Kirsten just call his ass out for like this.
I have a question about this whole interaction. They're like, why are you wearing your hair like that? I'm like, then Jimmy reacts. I didn't realize I was wearing my hair a certain way. And I'm like, Jimmy doesn't really have a haircut. He just kind of like has hair. Exactly. So I'm like, how is he supposed to wear it? But I do love that, like, this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, Kirsten and Sandy are like dressed to the nines. I'm like, why would you be like that if you were just having like your neighbor over? Because that's all Jimmy really is to them.
Yeah.
But okay, I do want to just point out when I watched the show, I like tried to convince my whole family we had to dress up for Thanksgiving, and they were like, "Why? It's just us." But now my family still dresses up for Thanksgiving, and it's all because of this episode.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So nothing like
Yeah.
a trend, tradition based on our lovely show here. We obviously transition here to Ryan and Marissa, doing some
She's
heavy.
like, I want to talk to you about something. And he's like, your pool house or mine? And it's so funny to me.
Yeah.
Because doesn't that imply that she would go to her mom's house?
Exactly. Very
But
much
like
so.
she wouldn't. And like,
Why
do
would
they
he
have
do
a
that?
pool house?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense
I
there.
don't know. I don't think they have a pool house.
I also want to follow up with, didn't Ryan have to go? Like,
yeah, but like he's probably gonna explain it to her because like this is before texting. So he probably didn't like text.
But did he know she was coming though?
Well, he knew that she was going to Julie's next door.
Right. Okay.
And like they're at that stage where like they would tell each other like every 5 seconds of their plans,
can we? And then of course we transit. Rachel shows up, which
it's so awkward because Kirsten hugs her. I'm like, what is going on? Also, I hate the way Rachel's dressed. It's so weird.
It very
like
much
in
is.
Slacks and like a button up, like a substitute teacher.
Yeah, it's very weird because it's very unlike her.
It's so unlike her. She doesn't even dress like that at the office.
No.
It's very weird.
It's very funny. It's just, yeah. I don't know. It's so good. Of course, and that was really when the pie moment happened. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, that was my favorite line right here though is when I think Ryan's getting ready to leave. Seth goes, "Did you hear Ryan is funny now?"
It's so funny. It comes up again at the end of the episode, and it's like a really great running bit throughout the whole episode.
Yeah. And so he gets ready to go. Ryan's getting ready to go. Seth gives it, or not Seth, Sandy gives him the keys to the Jeep, right? Can we talk about this? The Jeep. Wide open.
Well.
Yes.
Kirsten gives him the keys. Sandy gives him his cell phone.
Oh,
and I'm like, wait, they don't have cell phones?
Right.
I had like an emergency cell phone when I was like in elementary school. It could only call like my parents and like 911. But like they're rich. Like I wasn't that wealthy and I had like a kid cell phone.
Right.
There's no way that Seth and Ryan don't have cell phones.
Definitely interesting.
But it is like unlocked and like their driveway. This has bothered me my entire like existence as long as I've existed and this show has existed. The driveway when they're in front of the house is not what their driveway looks in the exterior shots of the house.
Exactly.
It's really weird. But the windows are down. The door is unlocked to where he can have someone waiting in his car for him. And it's a Range Rover. That car is at least starting at like 79 back then.
Exactly.
And it's weird. But,
and then my question is like, she's just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Jeep is wide open.
Yeah. It's weird.
And she's just chilling in the car. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's time to go.
It's nice though.
Obviously it's a sweet moment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course she lies, which is very much a big deal.
No, she's like, my mom said it's okay.
And like at that particular moment, like, I mean, that should have been the moment where Ryan was like, what?
Like he knows Julie. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
She hates him.
But he looks so happy that someone's going with him.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. He didn't want to do it alone, but at the same time, like he knows that, there's potentially bad things coming, which then of course we find out that is bad things. So Ryan's brother, obviously, they sit down, they have the conversation. And
it is not the real Trey.
He's upset. And he needs money, you know what I mean? Before he got locked up, he owed some people some money. And he needs Ryan to basically steal a car. And he
wants Ryan to drive a car that's already been stolen.
Right. From point A to point B.
But it's like a car they all keep describing as hot. So everyone probably knows it's a missing car. That it's well known that it's missing.
Yep.
But I just don't like this Trey. Like, I'm glad he gets recasted. No offense to this actor.
No, but
I don't like this Trey.
it was very
Because
off. Yeah.
the other Trey is more convincing at being like charming, but you know he's up to no good. Like this guy, like I knew he was up to no good. Like
The moment
just
he sat down.
he didn't really like have like a nice look to Ryan. Like the other actor portrays like a better like brotherly stare that you would like
Right.
be like, I can see why Ryan wants to help him.
Yeah, because this is like the first time they see each other in like 6 months, right?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? He hasn't gone. It's well known. He hasn't gone and visited him in jail, which is
Yeah,
first off
and what's
very weird.
annoying, it's not that weird because like Ryan's underage and he's not living with his mom.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
guess.
not like too weird.
I mean,
And
he
he's
could
like
be
an
like, "Hey,
hour
Sandy,
away.
can you go? Like, can you
But
take
I
me
don't
to
think
this
he
thing?"
wants to.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that as well. I mean,
And
he's in
like
a new.
this his whole predicament is because of Trey.
For sure. Oh, absolutely. But I mean, at the same time, for me, it's like it's my brother. I
I don't
understand
know
the
because they made it seem
situation,
like at the
but
begin, like the very on the pilot, that like Trey does this to Ryan all the time, and like Ryan's only ever been caught up in stuff because of Trey.
yeah,
And then when Ryan goes to get the car, it's made very clear it's the same thing that was already like alluded, that like Trey is terrible and always doing this kind of garbage and like not a good example for Ryan.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, it's interesting to me. It's for me. I would have at least, maybe tried to at least visit him.
And there's like a huge like continuity error in this episode. At the beginning, he says that his mom never comes to see him, and then he's like, "Mom also said you're doing good and with this nice family." And I'm like, "Which is it? Does the mom never come to see you, or is she telling you about Ryan's new get up?"
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Let's make the decision here. Which one's which?
But they must talk because how did he get the Cohen's number?
That's a good point. Like that's a solid point. I didn't think about it that way.
Because it wasn't like Sandy's number, like a lawyer. It
That
was
was a
like
house
their
phone.
house number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty certain, like, he even said that he would represent his brother at one point, didn't he? I'm pretty positive he did.
He said he would, but he wasn't.
Yeah. Of course, then we transition over here to back to the Cohen's house where Kirsten goes, "I can't believe Seth has a girl coming over."
It's so cute.
Sandy's like,
It's so
Sandy's
cute.
just like so like he's there for it. You know what I mean? He's like so there for it. It's adorable and it's cute. And I love throughout the episode we have the continued digs at her cooking. It's just it's funny. So this is the introduction, I guess, more so to the family here. Anna walks in the door. And then they kind of introduce themselves there. It's kind of cute and adorable. And then Sandy says, "What?" to Anna there. Kenzie?
It's so funny. He's like, your parents don't believe in celebrating the genocide of the American Indian. And I just love it so much. It's so funny. It's so Seth. It's like so Seth and Sandy to like not let it just be a holiday without commenting on its true underlying message at the heart of the holiday. And I love it. And I also love it because Anna is like the only person equipped to actually respond.
Right. Exactly.
Like if he asked Summer that, Summer would be like, "What?"
Huh?
But like he asks Anna, who's like quick-witted, like I can sit through a like family meal with my like extended family, and it's really funny.
It's
That
fantastic.
and then she asks if she can help, and Kirsten's like, "No, we've got this under control." And Seth is like, "By we, are you referring to yourself?" And she's like, "The only thing I'm doing," she goes, "The only thing I'm doing is opening wine, a skill I feel so confident in." And I was like, me too, Kirsten.
It's so funny. And then she goes on a rant of saying something Anna does, and she says, and Anthony, and I can't even say the word, anthema, and Sandy flips out. Like this is like a above 10th grade word, I guess, for Sandy's eyes.
Not that, just that she's so like
Put together,
not even that, but like wouldn't you be like every time I've met someone's parents, I'm very like reserved and not very like
Yeah.
myself because I'm like trying to feel like how much of your true personality you can be. But Anna's just like straight, like going through their fridge, like grabbing stuff to make food, like having this conversation. And he's like, what is going on? Especially because Seth has always complained about everyone that lives in Newport. And Sandy's like, what is this? Like, what is happening right here?
Exactly.
Like in the background, like Seth and Sandy are having this like really cute like eye conversation, like their eyes are all big and like there's a lot of hand gestures. And I'm like, this is so funny.
It's just, I mean, obviously we know they're in this like predicament they've never been before. You know what I mean? Seth's got a girl over, and not only does he have a girl over, she seems pretty, you know, she's got a good head on her shoulder.
Yeah, but I would not just start making a sweet potato pie at someone's house.
That was pretty funny.
Like who does that? And how did she know they were gonna have all the ingredients?
She just popped in the fridge.
And Thanksgiving is a very like, I have this in the oven at this time. I have this in the oven at this time. And you're going to just take everything out of the oven and use it? Like, what's going on?
Exactly.
Explain the situation to me.
Yeah, we don't have we never get a moment where it's like, this is how dinner is going to be laid out. Like, it just randomly, periodically, we see random things begun to be cooked, not cooked. You know, corn's being cooked outside way too early, like, in my opinion. You know, I didn't even think about that earlier when we were talking about the corn being cooked. Like, the turkey's not even really in the oven yet, or maybe it's in the oven. We don't know. Like, we don't have an idea of the general time frame. Because if you think about it, at the time the corn was being made, Ryan was not even gone yet, right? So it's still very early. Corn does not take like 6 hours to cook. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. Let's see here. And then, of course, we have Rachel. You know, she calls out Sandy, which is hilarious.
Very funny.
Because she puts 2 and 2 together.
It's like she's yelling at him, and then it cuts to Jimmy he's not as angry. He's just like, why are you doing this? Like, I don't want this to happen right now. Which, props to Jimmy for being very self-aware. Again, he's literally like, I'm not, like, this is not the time. Like, I don't care about this right now. But, and then Sandy and Kirsten like circle back around, and they see Seth and Anna having a cute moment in the kitchen. And then Jimmy and Rachel have like started bonding on the couch over football.
Yeah.
And it's really funny that they're like playing matchmaker. They think they're playing like matchmaker. And I'm like, for now.
I do love whenever Rachel goes, how desperate do you think I am? And then Sandy goes, he's a thief. You're a lawyer. Perfect match.
So funny. It's so funny that, and then just like, it's like, they always act like Newport's very small, and it's like a small town, and this is like a big scandal for them.
Right.
And I'm like, I feel like Rachel is written to where you would think she would like that attention.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I agree with you. 100%.
It's really funny. But I think this episode does a good job at showing like Jimmy's not as bad as everyone says he is so far.
Exactly. I mean, you have the moment where Sandy and Kirsten, like you were talking about, they're kind of looking at, they look over, they see Seth and Anna together, which is super cute. They're at the kitchen sink, and then Rachel and Jimmy is in the living room bonding over football. And then
the gruesome twosome.
That means happy Thanksgiving in Sandy.
It was just really funny because like it's such a like he just says it, like there's no like thought process. He's just like, hello to the gruesome twosome. Like, also, like, why did they answer the door together?
I think they were just like, I mean, maybe so close to the door, but it's kind of weird. Like, who runs to the door together and be like, hey!
As a pair? It's really weird.
Not knowing who it is.
Yeah, like they weren't, but not knowing, they weren't expecting anybody, but they can see through their door to see who it is. It's very weird.
Yeah, very much so.
But I just like that the whole time they're talking about how they can't believe Caleb is spending Thanksgiving with Julie. And because they're like, he's never spent Thanksgiving here with us.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he has arrived.
Yes.
Because their caterers did not show up for some reason.
Caterers for 2 people? Or technically 3. Marissa was, oh no, I forgot there's another kid too. Yeah. I always forget about the other kid.
How dare you call Caitlin the other kid?
I'm mad at Caitlin because of how mean she was to Ryan last episode.
It's very true.
I love whenever he comes in, like Caleb just starts Making himself at home is exactly what Sandy says. He says, "Why not? It's mine."
Which I just need to know like who purchased the house, because even if he's paying Kirsten and Kirsten bought it with her money, it's not his house. That'd be like my boss saying my apartment's his.
Right.
You know? Like
Exactly.
no.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe he did buy it for them.
Right. So that's right. We don't know the dynamic of it, but it's
But
still
I just
interesting.
love he's wearing like grandpa jeans.
Oh my
Like
God,
it's
yes.
so funny. They try to act like he's not old, and I'm like, homeboy in jeans just shows he's really old.
Right. Just because he's dating some, 35-year-old or whatever, 40-year-old or whatever now doesn't, or that's what he normally dates. You know what I mean? Or actually, I don't know. Julie's
23 was
probably,
his old. Julie's
yeah,
probably old for him.
yeah, Julia definitely. I do think it's funny. The dynamic here is what I'm thinking. So we've got Pops, who's dating Jimmy's ex, or not the ex-wife yet, but Jimmy's wife, Rachel, who wants Sandy. And then, of course, you have the dynamic of Caleb and Kirsten, who are still at kind of at war. But then, then you have Rachel and Sandy, who are at war with Caleb. Like, if we have, and then of course you have Julie and Jimmy in the same house together. Like, if we have all of these dynamics put together, it is a recipe for disaster. But it's just so funny that you have 6 people, right? It's 6, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
6 people
that all have issues with each other.
That exactly. You know,
and it's like it's like one of those holidays that like is advertised as like a family holiday, but it's always far more stressful than that, and never just like an enjoyable day for most people. Yep. Because getting back together with like an extended family is very stressful for a lot of people. Right. And it's so funny because the day started out as like it's just going to be the 4 Cohens and then Jimmy and Rachel, and it's turned into this like extravaganza, which is so funny to me.
Huge.
Which, like, this is only a thing that can really happen with rich people, because if that happened, you would be like, if you didn't have money, you'd be like, well, how am I going to feed all these people? Like, I hadn't accounted for this. But because they're well off, they can just take in more and more and more and more guests. It's really funny to me.
Exactly. It's pretty wild. We transition to the scene where I guess they arrive, and then they have this moment with Ryan and Marissa, and then the ex, right?
Teresa. Yes. I don't really like Teresa, but sure.
I love whenever she goes, "I was the girl next door," and then Marissa goes, "So am I." And I'm like,
Marissa is such a trooper in this whole thing, because like I would not want to be in Marissa's situation, but Marissa goes to jail to meet Ryan's brother, goes to Chino, and ends up meeting his ex-girlfriend that Ryan didn't even warn them. They were like, she's literally like, "Oh, you guys used to," and I'm like, "You didn't warn her? Like that's where you're walking up to?"
Because he knew where he had to go to get the car, right? You know what I mean? So he'd have been prefixed it with the idea on the way there and been like, "Hey." Because I mean, I understand he's quote unquote reserved and stuff like that, but for me, it was just like, no, that's
at least give her a little heads up, like, hey, this is my ex-girlfriend's house.
Exactly.
Also, that whole thing was so funny to me, because if someone said I was the girl next door, I'd be like, is that Ryan's old house next door?
Right.
Because it definitely wasn't, from when Sandy took him to see, like, when his mom wasn't there.
Exactly.
In the pilot. So, plot hole.
We transition back to Thanksgiving at the Cohens. It's
my gosh, Julie's mean mug of Rachel every time Rachel opens her mouth is hilarious. Like, they're trying to watch football, and Julie sits in between Jimmy and Rachel, which is very weird. And every time Rachel opens her mouth, Julie just gives her this look that you'd never want to be on the receiving end of, and it's hilarious.
So funny. In the kitchen, can we talk about how amazing it was that Anna blew up Caleb? Like,
it's
this
so
is
funny.
Your first ever.
No, she met him. Well, it's like she met him briefly,
right? I'm talking
and made an impression on him,
right?
But
a good one though, a good one.
But I think Sandy sets the scene before that to where that it's okay to attack him, and she must know that Sandy's defending the Balboa Heights
for sure.
So, but Sandy's like, Caleb gets up and comes into the kitchen, and he's like, "Oh, you're leaving so soon? That's so sad."
So good.
And then like the exact next line is like Anna being like, you on the Balboa Heights, right? And she's like, and he literally goes, "Oh no, not you too."
So
And
funny.
then Sandy laughs, which is what I think Anna's like, cool, good to go, got
Right. This is where I can drive home my
Yeah.
yeah.
It's really funny. But just Anna Stern, man.
Great character. I just she fits in with the Coens, you know what I mean? She's quick with it, she's funny, you know what I mean? Um and then in the midst of all this craziness, we get another little ding dong.
That's where Seth runs off to, is to answer the door in the
Yes.
midst of all this.
Yes.
No way would not an adult of the family not be like, who's there?
Right.
Very weird.
Very
Thoughtful.
Yeah, because he would have been like, "Hey, who's at the door?" But because not only that, like he takes her around back, right? He doesn't go back through the house himself.
Yeah, so it's really weird. It's weird, but it's summer.
Exactly. And she lays a big one on Mr. Cohen.
And his initial reaction is, I have some green beans on the stove that I need to go check on.
And she goes, "You're passing me up for beans?"
It's hilarious. It's so funny. I loved it.
Oh man. Yeah, and then Kirsten is ready to blow her head off because she wants Caleb gone. She's just over him. You know
She's
what I
like,
mean?
he needs to hit the bricks. And Sandy's like, who talks like that? And she's like, and we're out of Merlot. And he's like, I think you need to slow down. She's like, don't tell me what to do. And honestly, in this situation, I'm like, Sandy, like, alcohol doesn't apply on Thanksgiving. Like, sorry. Like, people got to deal with this stressful situation. Like,
we're here having a party, partaking in things. Like, we need to be drinking and drinking a lot right now. And especially given the circumstance of where we're at right now, drinking very much needs to be on the table, right?
Like, I was watching this like literally like at 7:30 this morning, and I was like, shit, I need a drink to deal with their stress. Like, I'm so stressed out for them.
Exactly.
Especially because Kirsten doesn't cook, right? Like, we've established this the entire episode. And all she wanted was to have a nice Thanksgiving for Ryan. And it's just like gone off the rails. Like,
oh, so good. It's just so funny and so good because it blows my mind, just the complete ignorance of everything that just it's I don't know. You
and
know,
then Sandy like thinks it's funny, and I'm like, Kirsten's generally like really stressed out by the whole thing, like doesn't think it's a laughing matter. And it's funny as like a third party, like, oh, that sucks, that poor awkward family situation. But like, she probably has had a really hard few weeks at work, probably just wanted to relax, and it's like she can't do it.
Exactly.
Like,
and then it's so good. We transition here. Obviously, Anna is trying to hit the bricks now too. And she wants to go to the
Ryan
pool
sea
room.
monkeys.
And Ryan Seth goes, no, it's the Ryan sea monkeys. I want to go see Ryan sea monkeys. And they're dead.
They committed suicide. The holidays are tough. It's really funny.
It's so funny, you know what I mean? You got two women. Not only does he have two women in his life right now, which is something that he's never dealt with his entire life,
but they're both at his house.
Now they're both at his house at the same time, and now Anna is trying to put the moves on him. You know what I mean?
This is where Seth lost me because that's gross.
Yes,
I don't like it.
It's like one of those. It's like, all right, you know, get your Mac on, my man. You know, part of me is like, yeah, dude, like you have to understand, like he's got 16 years of making up to do. You know what I mean? He's a little, you know, he doesn't know what to do. He likes both of them.
I suppose, but not cool.
I'm not condoning the Seth Cohen's actions per se, but I'm not gonna not say go Seth Cohen. You know what I mean? It's you know, you've got Anna Summer. You know what I mean? He doesn't know what to do. You know what I mean? He can't tell anybody that Summer likes him and she's putting the moves on him. You know what I mean? And now Anna, you know, she brings him back into the bedroom and she goes, "You didn't bring me back here to introduce me to Captain Oates." And I'm just like, oh snap.
And then he's like talking about more food he left in the kitchen unattended. But so this time he runs to call Ryan to confide
Yes.
in Ryan.
Right.
And Ryan is like, well, Marissa's here. I'll call you when we're back. And he's like, Marissa's with you? And he's like, yeah, her mom's here looking for her.
Uh-oh.
Starts some drama.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite moments of the entire episode when Seth goes to be the responsible person and alert an adult to where Marissa is.
Yes.
But he decides to confront his mother, who has moved on from wine because they're out and is making margaritas on Thanksgiving. So she's using a blender, making some margs, and Seth is trying to yell at her, like, hey, I know where Marissa is. She's like, what? Blender's still going. He's like, Marissa's in Chino. What? And then Blender
simultaneously at the same time.
Blender cuts. Seth is screaming, Marissa's in Chino.
Yep.
Every adult other than Kirsten, because she's a little drunk. Drama ensues.
Yes.
They're all arguing, and then they're just all screaming, and it's really funny because they're all arguing about different things other than just Marissa.
Yeah, like, Ryan's trash, basically. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
This is like it's so funny. This is what day drinking does to people.
It really does. It really, really does. And then we flash to Ryan, who is mad.
Yeah, he's pissed because he knows that Julie will blame Ryan, not Marissa.
Rightfully so, very upset right now.
But Ryan should have known.
I agree, but I think he had a lot going on in this particular moment.
I guess that's true, but like, come on, Julie would have never let Marissa do this.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Whenever she said it, he had even had a look on his face, and she's just like, "Let's go." He's gonna take her to the bus station. Like, they just have random buses that go in and out of town, an hour away. That often,
it's probably like different buses, which is funny because I don't think Marissa would have understood that.
Yeah, has she ever even been on the school bus before? Like,
it's probably not a school bus because they go to private school.
Exactly. So, Summer and Seth, they're just so cute together. I just love them. They're just so adorable. You know what I mean? They're just adorable together. But at the same time, like, I really like him and Anne at the same. It's like I'm struggling with the idea of what Seth is struggling with because I really like the idea of both of them because Summer really, I don't
think Summer is cute with Seth right now. I think it's your knowledge of what happens in the future on the show.
Possibly.
Because right now I just think they're like hot for each other. They're not like cute. Like Seth and Anna are cute together because they're like similar and have interests. But like him and Summer have nothing in common.
Nothing. Zero.
They have the only chemistry they have is like sexual chemistry, not like any like cute moments or their friendship or anything.
Yeah, and then Summer on top of that, like Summer is really, I think, right this particular moment is really only interested in Seth because it's like the one that she can't get. You know what I mean? It's like you know what I mean? And then of course Anna jumped into the picture and it was like, oh my God, like, wait a minute.
He was so obsessed with her, and then Anna showed up and he wasn't. But then he goes back into the house.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, like they cut back to Summer, but she's like back so soon, and it's Sandy. And she's like, you're hot for a dad. I mean, distinguished. And Sandy just hasn't said anything. And I really like this whole situation because they never really show you like what happens. Because like I would just want Sandy to leave the room. Like I wouldn't want Sandy to talk to me if I were Summer. Like I just want him to like back out. But it's so painfully embarrassing. I would hate a guy if that happened to me.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so funny though. And then of course we flip to Ryan dropping off the vehicle. We knew it wasn't going to be as simple as him just driving the car.
Here's a car.
Hey, debt paid, which is exactly what Ryan says. You know what I mean?
They're like, no, there's taxes, bitch. I'm like, okay, that's a little dramatic. They all start beating him up, and then a Range Rover pulls up and Marissa honks. And my favorite thing is that she opens the door so he can just jump in, because it like implies that Marissa's like smart and understands like this is not good. And I'm like, I don't really know, but I just love he gets in the car and he gets down so like he's not visible in the window. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she's like, "I followed you." And he like looks around. He's like, "Good call." It was really funny. Like he acknowledged, like it was a good idea. It was really funny.
Yeah. And then we have probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire episode where Sandy and Seth are having a moment.
Discussing it.
Right. And it's so good because like Sandy is on part of him is like on cloud 9, you know what I mean? He's proud of his boy, you know what I mean? Like he's never really had to have the, you know,
birds and
talk.
the bees.
Yeah, the birds and the bees at all. And he knows like they're both in the house at the same time. And I love how he goes, "Well, just tell Summer you like Anna." And, you know, and then
Seth is like, well. And he's like, oh.
And he's like, "Well, tell Anna that you like Summer." And he's just like, well.
And then chaos ensues in the kitchen.
Oh, it's so good.
They're all arguing, and then the turkey starts smoking, and they cut back to Sandy, and Sandy's like, "Do you smell that?" And then you hear everyone in the kitchen yelling because the turkey has caught on fire.
Yes.
And
somebody left the drunk lady alone in the kitchen with the
to be fair, at this point, I think the only person not drunk is Seth, Anna, and Summer. Exactly. Because they've all been drinking wine throughout the entire day.
Exactly.
Like, that's why all these emotions are coming out. It's just they show Kirsten looking the most drunk, but I'm pretty sure they're all the same level.
Exactly.
Because this is like just not a fun day if you're involved. Like if you're watching like we are, it's fun. But if you're like involved, it's probably horrible.
Yeah, it's a stressful day. Like you're around, especially more so stressful than it ever was before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different dynamics that have transpired. Not only are they there, then the big blowout for Marissa blew up. You know what I mean? So that caused more war. And then obviously they not only that, they go from wine to margarita. You know, Kirsten's going to margaritas now.
Tequila. My favorite is like they all have like half empty glasses of the margarita.
Yeah.
So I'm like they all accepted like shit. I still need a drink. I'm
exactly right
for a margarita. Like nobody wants to have turkey and margaritas. I'm pretty sure, but they all were like it's fine. The smoke detector going off brings alert to both Summer and Anna.
Yes.
Who meet up in the kitchen.
Yes.
And Kirsten's drunkenness is
line of the episode.
Just like, oh, what a late bloomer about her son. But my favorite part of this whole thing is Julie's face. When she sees Summer, she looks at Anna and then she looks at Seth. It's the funniest thing.
So
like because Julie's drunk, like super drunk, and she's just like, like I can't believe
always
this.
Knew you were a late bloomer. Like it was so
good. But Julie's face, man, it's just so fun because Julie's face is like all of us realizing Seth is playing it to women. Exactly. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like everybody's surprised. You know what I mean?
It's really funny. And then they cut to Trey and Ryan, and I have some questions. It's dark. Are they really allowing visitors when it's dark out? Like, aren't there visiting hours? And didn't he already have a visitor for the day? Like, could the same visitor really come back in the same day?
I don't know. I don't think so.
But
this scene messed me up, man. It messed me. I got a brother. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a brother. I've got a really good relationship with my brother.
But I just don't get, like, now Trey all of a sudden is like, you have a good life. Like, leave me behind. I'm like, why couldn't you say this 3 hours ago?
Yeah,
like,
you needed me to do something first. Now that
and he's just saying this so the next time he needs something. Exactly. I don't know. I don't like Trey.
It was just a sweet moment between the two. Really, more so on Ryan's side. You know, because like if you look at it, it was kind of like Ryan knew like this was it. Like this is the last time that I'm really going to.
But it isn't.
Well, I mean, we obviously we know that, but you know.
But also, Trey and Ryan both know that. Just like Ryan knew when Trey called that he just wanted something.
For sure. It's just it was a sweet-ish moment. It was a terrifying moment, but at the same time, it was very. I dug it. You know what I mean? Yeah. We transition back. um, can we talk about how Kirsten was just passed out drunk?
I get it. Day drinking is fucking
Oh, for
brutal.
sure, absolutely. And then
Day drinking is no joke.
Sandy's just
But I
chilling eating
just
his
love he's
Chinese.
eating his Chinese food in bed. But then Rachel and Jimmy are just eating Chinese food. She's like, we should catch a game sometime. And
Ah,
then he's like a little hesitant. And he's like, I'm not
yeah,
sure I'm ready. And I'm like, I really like that for
yeah,
Jimmy.
yeah.
Because Jimmy's like, I gotta
The
get my
second
shit
time.
together.
The second
Yeah.
time he's had a moment where he's like, I'm not ready for,
And
you know,
then Julie and Caleb kind of look cute eating Chinese food in the kitchen.
they really
I was
do.
like, they look kind of cute. But then Marissa comes in with Ryan, and Julie is like, where have you been? Do you know what time it is? And Caleb's like, it's Thanksgiving.
It
And
was
he's
a very
like,
nice
you want,
moment.
yeah. And he's like, you want some lo mein? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then my
Can we talk
favorite,
about for a minute though? Sandy is in bed.
he probably wanted to make sure Kirsten was okay.
I understand, but he's in his bed eating his food while she's passed out, while there's still company in the house eating. I understand Caleb.
I
Caleb's a
don't
different
know.
story.
Everyone's kind of like with their like in their own little
It's just,
zone. It was a
it's still
hectic day.
weird. It's
But
just
I think
still
like
very
to
weird.
diffuse the drama,
For
everyone kind of
sure.
needed a breather. But I just love Marissa and Ryan take up some Chinese food to Seth's room. And he's on the ground. And they're like, why are you on the ground? He's like, it was a natural transition. I was going to end up here anyway. It's so funny. And I just like that they're all eating Chinese food on the floor with caps and oats. It was a cute way to end the episode.
Yeah, and then Marissa goes to Seth. Seth, did you know Ryan did musicals?
It's so funny. It's so funny. And he's like, I didn't know they had music in Chino.
And then he goes, no one was as funny as you. He goes, so wait a minute, you admit that I'm the funny one.
It's very funny because the whole episode has been about Ryan being funny. And then they just come to agreement that Seth is the funny one.
Can I talk about real quick, now the episode's over here, I did not talk about the synopsis.
Bro.
Right? It's been staring at me. I was like, do I interrupt
Is
you?
it because it wasn't a good one? Or because it
It's-
wasn't a bad one?
It's not really that bad. It's Thanksgiving dinner at the Cohen descends into bedlam when unexpected guests arrive. Ryan returns to his hometown when his brother calls him for a favor. Like it's a solid one. You know what I mean?
That's a good one.
I don't know where the word bedlam comes from, but I mean that's not probably the word I would have used. But you know, I would have maybe used chaos. You know, descends into chaos when unexpected guests arrive. It's not a bad one. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's decent.
Fun fact. Then we'll go MVP.
I only really have one. That's kind of a goof, not a fun fact.
I'll take it.
When Jimmy and Marissa come into the house, Kirsten calls him Tate, not Jimmy, which is the actor's name.
Yeah.
And it's in the episode.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, right?
Yeah. Wait, before you go MVP, if you had to be one person at this Thanksgiving dinner, who would you be?
I think it would have been Rachel.
Yeah, me too. To be like she's like in a sense the only one that has like the least amount at stake in the whole thing. Like I know she has like a work issue with Caleb and Kirsten kind of.
Right.
But like ex-husband and father is like so different than any other situation.
Yeah, there's so many. You have Jimmy, like I said, we have Jimmy who's there.
And then his ex-wife shows up.
His ex-wife shows up with her new man, who is
the host's dad.
But not only that, his lover, his ex-girlfriend's dad, right?
It's very like, and he already asked him for a job, you know?
Exactly.
Like, it's very uncomfortable.
He stooped very, very low to get a job. You know what I mean? So we had an interesting dynamic here, but I agree with you. But I would use 100% would want to be Rachel in this situation.
For sure.
Who is your MVP?
I went Ryan. Yeah. I almost went Jimmy, but he doesn't really have a lot. Like he just has like cute moments, not overwhelming like character development. And I feel like we get to see Chino like for Ryan and like see people he was around.
Yep.
And the whole episode was kind of like about like he moved in and is part of the Cohens, but he's still in Atwood and has Atwood family and problems. And
Yeah. Yeah. That's my MVP too. I mean, you know, he knew what he was getting himself into, still did it anyway, still went and stuck up for his brother and did the deed of what he knew that was going to have to happen. He knew what he was going to get himself into, et cetera, et cetera. So, and you're right. We finally see some backstory on a kid that we don't know a whole lot of at this particular moment. We just know that, you know, he's got a troubled past. We meet some ex-girlfriends, some ex-friends, and, you know, he gets himself in a little bit of trouble and, you know, chaos ensues. So it was a great episode. This is hands down easily the best episode so far, right?
I think so. I really like the pilot and then this one the most so far.
Yeah, I think the 2 episodes. This is.
But I'm just like such a sucker for Thanksgiving episodes.
Yeah, it was a great episode. I loved it. I was very, you know, very excited about it. You know, like I said, a lot happens. It's a crazy episode, right? Very crazy episode, and it's a nice little kickoff where it kind of like, you know, almost to the midway point of season 1. So it kind of makes it, makes it fun. You know what I mean? So next week we've got a good one coming for us as well. So I'm excited about that. Next week's synopsis is hilarious. I can't wait to tell you about it. We go from a semi-decent one to next week. It's like, what? But folks, do us a favor. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel or subscribe on podcast or on wherever you listen to the podcast. Give us a 5-star review if you're listening on iTunes. We really appreciate the continued support each and every week of listening to us, interacting with us. And if you're watching with us each and every week, we really do appreciate that as well. Make sure to follow Kenzie on Twitter at Kenz Van Nunu, and follow myself on Twitter at Ricky Valera _. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.